Thank you. Thanks for all coming out tonight. I know it's a little bit warmer than last week, but it still pains to go out at night, so thanks for coming out. I'm going to talk, as Sandy said, a little bit more from the pitching standpoint, what goes into the sponsorship, what is our sponsorship from our standpoint, and everything the whole process. So it's going to be a little granular. I put some fun pictures in it just to keep your entertainment, your attention. But so we're going to get through it. I am on Cannonball Productions. We are an event management and production agency. We have a few of our own events. One of our biggest tentpole events is the Bacon and Beer Classic. We run it in Major League Baseball stadiums, inside of them around the country. So we're going to 12 markets this year. We're really excited. We also have a division called Cannonball Adventures, which is an adventures lifestyle brand out of Chicago. And we have a Lions, Tigers, and Brews event that we run out of zoos internationally. So we will be in the Central Park Zoo on June 19th. And we will be at Citi Field on April 25th. So little plugs with the Bacon and Beer Classic at April 25th. So just a little bit about me. I lived in the Midwest for about 8 years. Go Pack, go. I'm originally from New Jersey, though, so I gave up the Giants for the Packers. I love trying new restaurants around New York, and if I wasn't doing this, I'd own unique hostels around the world just for an excuse to travel. So what is a partnership, right? I mean, it's a big word. Obviously, it's one that shares, and the word partaker. So it always takes more than one person to be in a partnership. You've got spousal partnerships, classroom partnerships, dancing partnerships, and obviously business partnerships. And there are about like 1,001 handshakes and different kinds of handshakes if you Google partnership. That's really what comes up. There are also different types of partnerships within business. Obviously, we're focusing on business and not dance partnerships tonight. So there are lots of different categories within partnerships. One is strategic, and that's one that we focus on a lot, especially as a young startup. Strategic partnerships can really take your brand to the next level. I know Sandy said a lot about cash, which is probably what he gets asked about a lot, I'm sure. I know I've got hit up Sandy a few times, but strategic is really helpful to whether it's promotional opportunities and sharing. So it's in kind, but it's more of a strategic opportunity. So it's even potentially a client that you end up bringing on. I'll give you an example. So expand or enhance your brand, bring something different to the table, align yourself with a different company. An example, I pulled a picture from Mad Men, the gift that's going. He said, "It's your job. I give you the money. You give me the ideas." So it can be a partnership, like a business, like bringing on an actual partner to run a business with you. An example that I will give you, a personal example, we reached out to, it's a mobile app called The Infatuation. If you haven't heard of it, download it. Little plug for The Infatuation. It's my favorite mobile app for restaurants around the city. We were reaching out to them to be a sponsor, paid monetary sponsor for our festival. We got in contact with the CEO, and he gave us a few minutes of his time, and he was like, "Listen, blunt, we don't sponsor food festivals. It's not what we do. We don't want to, tick off any of the restaurants. We're not there. We're doing like music festivals and different lifestyle events, but not food." So I was like, okay, I understand that, but good luck. I researched him a little bit, saw that he was speaking at this food conference, and said, good luck there, I might see you there. And he said, "How did you know about that conference?" And I said, "Well, we have a client who we're producing a very similar conference for at the end of February." And he said, "Oh, you have clients as well, like you do outside, agency work?" And I said, "Yeah, we do." And he said, "That we're looking for an event production company to do events for us." And so that is a strategic partnership. We now have a client, we're going in 50-50 on, different events around the country later this year. They have a huge platform. They have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers. So they bring that side, we bring the expertise and the bandwidth on the event side. So you never know what can happen. So that was a long-winded strategic partnership example, but a great one. In kind, also a great partnership to have. I mentioned the food conference that we're doing at the end of this month. It's nonprofit, and I say that because it pretty much is a nonprofit, but not technically a 501c3. And almost everything is in kind because it's a mission-driven event. And it doesn't have to be mission-driven, this just happens to be. And almost everything, from the venue, all of the food, catering, everything is in kind. Because you'll find a lot of the times, especially kind bars, they'll say, "Well, we don't have money, we don't have a monetary budget, but we've got product. And we can ship you, 1,000 kind bars to have at your event." And especially starting where you're not demanding the cash necessarily, it's great to be able to say to really hungry beer festival goers, here are 1,000 Kind bars, and it didn't cost you anything, and you're still adding value to your event. So another great one. Media sponsors. Oh my goodness, media sponsors are the best. So this is an example from New York City Wine and Food. There's no way they pay media for media. I mean, maybe a little bit of their budget goes to media, but they have unbelievable media sponsorships because these sponsors like Time Out New York, which is where I think I pulled this photo from, they want the recognition at the events. They want to be there. They want to have a booth. They want to be associated with your event or your product or your service. And they will trade you space in their publications or on the radio, those radio ads. You give them like 10 tickets to your event, you'll be all over that radio station because they need the content to fill in, and they also have the opportunities. So whether it's online promotions, we've also given Time Out a promo code because we want to sell tickets. So we're like, here's a 20% off promo code for you to offer to your audience, and then we get to sell tickets out of it, and they get to offer a unique opportunity to their followers. So there's a lot you can do with media, and it's a huge reach. So that is a really valuable partnership to have. Monetary, the big one. Monetary sponsors are everywhere. Sandy went into that in pretty great detail, $21 billion in the US alone. This is just a picture of a Hangout Festival. It's a music festival in Alabama, and most stages are sponsored. You'll say like, oh, we're going over to the Honda stage or the BMI stage, or you get the idea. So the huge sponsorship dollars. And that's really when it gets exciting too, when you get to start seeing some cash coming in from your events. Aside from tickets. So the process, right? I pretty much just learned this, I would say, within the last year, and can be a daunting process. There's a lot of pieces, but once you figure it out, it's really fun. It's very obviously relationship driven, and you need to own those relationships and follow up with the contacts, but there's a lot of things to do before you can get to that point. So we're going to go through these in a lot more detail, each of these. So identifying the target companies. Think about your brand and companies who would be interested in your brand. Like, where do you start, right? You've got this Bacon and Beer Festival, and where do I start? Who would want to be there? Who is my audience? What brands would we have, is there an alignment with? So that's where I usually start, and it's just a gut feeling when you don't have like databases and things to work off of. And who's there, who buys their product. Think about like who's going to your event, who your target audience is, what brands are associated with that. Who's spending money out of home? I can't tell you, I'm so, I get really entertained on the subway because I just read all the ads and I'm like, oh, delivery.com, Handy, Boxed, and Oscar Insurance, and I can name a bunch that you see on the subways, and they're spending money out of home. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to sponsor events, but you know that they have a budget that isn't just radio, print, traditional media. You have to decide whether you want to go local or national. Those are two big different things. And we within Bacon and Beer Classics, some of our team is working on local sponsorships, and some are working on national. And they're different asks, they're different targets. So, for instance, we have an event in California. We're targeting. It's coming up pretty quickly. It's next month. It's a month away. So we are targeting local sponsors because it's much easier to get them to say yes quicker. So we have a month, not that much lead time. Most national sponsors need 3 to 6 months at least. And that's if you get them at the right time. So it could be a year, to be honest. So we get this car dealership down the street for X number of dollars. That's a win for everybody. So you have to figure out whether you want to go national or local or both. And one thing I found that was really helpful, well, I think another bullet point I missed on here is whether you contact their agency or the brand. Because almost every brand, especially when we're talking national, has an agency that represents them and controls some of the budget. I have found it most successful to go directly to the brand. They know what their budget is, they know what their target is, their goals are. If you can get in touch with them, I mean, you can do both. But the agency, sometimes it's harder to identify the right people within the agency because you might look at that. But agency or brand is a big question. And so one thing I found that was really helpful was looking the company up on LinkedIn. So for instance, what did I Google? What did I LinkedIn? It must have been like, I don't know, some food company. I think it was like no, it wasn't Shake Shack. Something about that. So I basically on the LinkedIn page of that company, I'm trying to remember what I did, whatever. You can look up and see what other Mighty Quinn's came up, Shake Shack came up. You can look at the people also viewed, and that gives you an idea of what similar companies are there. So we're targeting Old Spice, and you can go to people also viewed, like Axe, Dove Men's Healthcare, or Dove Care, Men's Care. So you get the idea, because then you just really want to, you want to have a wide net, you want to cast a wide net, because there are a number of people who just will not respond. Majority will not respond to your request. So cast a wide net, but also be very particular about who you're identifying, if that makes sense. We're not going after secret or always. Our demo is definitely male skewed, so we're not going after female driven brands. Although like Victoria's Secret loves being a part of men's events, because men buy the gifts for women, if that makes sense. So, okay, first step, research, or second step, identify the companies, research the company, Google them. Probably like one of the most basic things you can do. Read the news section. I always read the news section before reaching out to anybody. It'll give you what kind of internal things that are going on, who's just hired, what brands they have coming out, what their campaigns are, any controversy that you might want to be aware of, or if they had a Super Bowl ad come out. I mean, those are really good things that you should know before ever reaching out to a client, a company. Know their strengths and weaknesses. Like, know that maybe a company isn't in the best situation, and it's okay to identify that. One brand that I'll talk about pretty extensively tonight is Budweiser, because we have a recent partnership, I would say, or conversation. We've gone through this process a few times with them. So weakness is they're losing market share to craft beers. Our event is a craft beer festival. But I read this Wall Street Journal article that headline was Budweiser losing craft beer, or losing market share for the first time in history, majority of market share to craft beers. I saw it as an opportunity. There was a quote in the article that was from the CMO of AB InBev, and he said, "We are spending money on millennial-driven food festivals." And I was like, well, it doesn't get much clearer than that. That's his. Oh, what did I hit? Oh no, I've got to fix it. All right, well, I'll keep talking. And be aware, be looking at what their current campaign is. If it's, we had Pepsi once, and I think it was, this was a few years ago, but it was like a, shoot, no, that's not. It was a Be Anywhere, or Be, or I should know what their campaign was, but they were a sponsor. Because it was about like experiencing life to your fullest, and they wanted to be a part of our adventures. This is the dance partnership part. We're back. Okay, sorry about that. So big takeaways. Subscribe to Ad Age. You will learn a lot. They give you like free, totally free, and Ad Week. They give you free emails every day about different things that are going on in the branding, advertising, marketing world, and they're really fun to read, fun ads and stuff. And Sponsor Pitch, also free. Not the actual service, but they send you a free weekly or daily email. Sponsor Pitch is another option. It's about $20 a month, I believe, and it'll just give you information on who's spending, where they're spending, how much they're spending, and sometimes who to contact. This will be sent out too, as an email, so you'll get all of this. Can anyone name what game this is from? Yes. Okay, great.
What is it?
Guess who? No. All right, fun board game. So finding the right person. So now you've identified the company, you've done your research, you know that they have a great campaign out, or a new brand, or in need of spending money in certain activities or events. Now you need to find who the right person is to contact there. So how do you do that? LinkedIn is amazing for this. One thing I will say, there's a plugin that you can download called Profit. It's kind of sneaky, but it gives you their email address. So if you go to LinkedIn And yeah. Well, like, it'll give you verified email addresses. If it's not verified, it'll give you what they think that email address might be. It kind of like scours the web. And it's usually only professional email addresses, so it's okay. But it's a great plugin. So do your research. I mean, going back to that CMO example from Budweiser, news and articles are great to find the right contact person. And then obviously you can just search on LinkedIn or on, Budweiser CMO or AB InBev CMO. Marketing manager. These are titles that you want to look for. CMO, marketing manager, sponsorship manager, VP of business development, CEO or owner for smaller companies that might manage the budgets for spend like this. And ad data, you do have to pay for ad data. It's pretty significant, but you get a 1-week free trial, and they give you all access, download as much as you want, and I've taken full advantage of that. I literally just spent all week on ad data. So you can get a free trial, and again, it's a back-end software that you can go in and say Fat Tire or New Belgium or whatever, and it'll pull out every contact in the marketing world with their full contact information. Highly recommend you go get a free trial there. Yeah. So make contact. Now we're making contact. So now we're making contact. We've got the right person. We know everything about them and about their company. Now we're making contact with them. How do you do that? Email them a really short, unique, and personal email. This is super important. You cannot just, it's like a cover letter. Sandy and I were talking about this a little bit. It's like a cover letter. It's so obvious. He must get, I don't even know how many, 20 or 30, I'm guessing, like a lot, a week or day. I mean, it depends on the brand too, but a lot. And so imagine you're like an HR person, you're getting all these, you've got a job posting up, or maybe you don't even, and you're getting all these resumes in, and you're like, they all look the exact same. This is boring, I've got a lot to do, this isn't really attracting me. You've got to make it personal, you've got to make it stand out. So when I emailed the CMO from AB InBev, expecting never to hear back, I said, I have your solution. I read your article. If you want to talk, I've got some ideas brewing, period. Give me a call. That was it. It was 2 sentences. He doesn't have time for more than that. And so a week or 2 later, I got an email from the brand manager who's overseeing the food festivals at Budweiser. And I was like, that was crazy. It was crazy. I never expected to hear back from them again. Or pick up the phone. I mean, honestly, sometimes that's the best way to get in touch with people. It might be annoying, or you might have to say maybe now is not the best time, but call them back at a better time. Another takeaway is Sidekick. It's another software. I believe it's $10 a month. And there are other options too. You feel free to I know that there's what's the one that finds what did you say? Boomerang for Gmail, and there are a couple of others, and some of them are free, so definitely look out there. We just happen to use Sidekick, and it tells you when you can track your emails, so it tells you when people open them, where they open them, how they open them, what device they're on. So I saw that I sent an email, this person opened it up on their cell phone in Dublin, and I was like, well, I'm not going to expect to hear back from that person for at least another week or 2. So it does help you, and although sometimes can make you insane because you're they're opening my presentation, why am I not hearing back from them? So there's not that much you can do, but then you at least can follow up in a few days and say, hey, you've had some time, let's talk. Okay, so learn and understand the brand's goals. This is massively important. This is the picture is listening, listen. And I know for some of us it's easier said than done. I like to talk more than I like to listen. So I have to be really conscious of this part because this is what it comes down to, and I cannot stress it enough. I know Sandy mentioned it a lot in his presentation. It's very important to the brand. So when you get them on the phone, you make contact, you set up a phone call, all you should be doing is asking questions. This is an exploratory conversation for you. What are their goals for 2015? Have they ever participated in a similar event before? If they have, what did they find from it? Did they think it was successful? What made it successful? What made it unsuccessful? Ask them when they put their budget together. Is it maybe they run in July, or maybe they run in March, and this is the worst time for us to be reaching out, or the best time because they know that they're going to have $50K to spend per market on activations like this. And are they the decision maker? Do they have to go back to their team and then pitch this to somebody else? And if so, would a one-sheeter help? Maybe the presentation is too heavy and they have to just pitch their boss really quickly on, a 10-second thing, and here's the one-sheeter, what this festival's about, I think we should do it. So asking questions is huge. Take notes and write down key phrases, and then you're going to use those right back at them in an email or in the presentation. You'll hear it. They say authentic 30 times, and you're like, okay, I get it. Got to put that in the presentation. Highlight your product or service, but don't get it all away at once. So I like to talk about some of the benefits, but I don't lay it all out there because you want to have some hidden things in your pocket so that when there is a little bit of pushback, you can say, but, or, oh, and I forgot to mention. How silly of me. And say that you'll put together a custom proposal, because sometimes, I think that a lot of events, and this is, your decision, we make everything custom. So it's not just, here's a 10 by 10 option, here's a 10 by 20 option, you're going to have a booth and you're going to hand out flyers. That really doesn't add very much to our event, and it really doesn't do very much for the customer or for the brand. So we like to really make things as interactive as possible, as custom as possible. So I like to have a conversation with them before even ever sending them over very much, if anything. If they want to see something, I'll send a generic proposal, and then we can talk, a custom proposal afterward. And then definitely when you're on the phone with them or in email, set up a date to walk through it with them again. It works. It works almost every time. You're like, okay, I've got you on the phone. How's next Tuesday to walk through, the custom proposal I put together. Okay, so this is one of my biggest questions. I was like, okay, now, before I even reached out, I was like, I don't know how to price this thing. And there really is no answer. It's so subjective. I know Sandy was getting into this too with whether there's other media involved and that, what your audience is, what your reach is. It's very much based on that, but you also just have to go off of what is happening in the industry and in the market. So how do you know what to charge? You can base it off of attendance and list size. If it's a digital or a virtual partnership and not in person, they want to see click-through rates. They want to see opens. What's the value of what you're offering them? From a return on investment. How are they measuring this? What are they going to be able to get out of it? If it's selling, Gatorade, how much Gatorade would they have to sell to not only make that back, but make more on it? But maybe their goal isn't to sell Gatorade. Maybe their goal is to sample their brand new line of ice Gatorades or Frostgate. I'm making this up, but maybe that's their goal. It's just to get it in the hands of people. So you can charge more if your audience is bigger because that's their main goal. And how much is it costing you? So obviously, it's not worth a $500 sponsorship if to get the table, to get a linen, to get a pipe and drape, to maybe order a van, whatever it is $250. Now you have to say, okay, it's really a $250 sponsorship. Then I now have to work this partnership and relationship. Is that worth my time? Or, wow, they're willing to give me $10,000. I will do anything for that, or whatever it may be. So you're assembling your proposal. What goes into your proposal other than pricing? I kind of threw that in ahead of time. So what goes in? Basics: date, time, location, the mission. I'm actually going to walk you through mine right after this so you can kind of see it. Your audience reach and demographics and psychographics are becoming very popular. People don't even care as much about that they're college educated. They care that they are, into trying new things, trying new restaurants or whatever it is. Stats, your statistics on your digital and your social reach. Referrals and testimonials, if you have any, whether it be from previous attendees, previous sponsors, or partners, I should say. Really, venue management, because people think differently, right? You have no idea. You don't know this person well enough who you're pitching to. They could be really data driven. All they care about is wanting to see the numbers. You could be pitching to somebody like me, who I am very visual and conceptual, and I like to see pictures, and I like to see happy, testimonials, and I like to see, what my opportunities are. So really, you have to kind of have it all in there so that you're hitting everybody's preferences, psyche preferences. Biggest thing for sure is what are the opportunities for the brand? What have you put together? What have you thought about your event? What is possible for them based on the conversation you had. What is going to help them hit their goals? So it's assets. You have to almost make a list of all the assets that you can offer somebody or create that will help, and then picking and choosing those that will help them hit their goal. Pricing, which we just went through. Images are great. If it's a first-time event, it's sometimes hard. Stock photos are better than nothing, and good stock photos. And contact info, obviously, for them to reach out to you. So I'm actually, can I X out of this and go into a PDF really quick? I want to really quickly walk you guys through our, can I?
She's just messing with me.
I know, I'm sorry. Tech is not my strong suit. Slideshow.
Yeah.
All right. This is just a special add-on I wanted to show you. Can I pull it up online? Without. Sorry, guys. I promise this is worth it.